Welcome to the selfgrowth.com show. My name is David Riklan, and I'm the founder of selfgrowth.com. Today, we'll be discussing how to raise a remarkable kid. To help us understand this topic, I'm excited to interview Edie Raether. Make sure to listen closely. We're going to be sharing a lot of information today. Before we get started, I want to take a couple of minutes and share some information about Edie. As a change strategist and brain trainer, Edie is an international authority on human potential, motivation, and behavioral psychology. She's also been a psychotherapist, family counselor, occupational therapist, college professor, and talk show host with affiliates of ABC. From children to CEOs, Edie's keynotes and seminars create a mind shift that optimizes performance both personally and in the workplace. Passionate about why we do what we do, Edie's mind mastery strategies ignite breakthrough thinking and innovation to revolutionize how we get things done. A best-selling author, Edie has written 7 books, including I Believe I Can Fly, which is an empowering character-building program for children, and we'll be talking about that. She's a frequent resource for all media, including the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, NBC, and Reuters. Her nuts and bolts approach makes all programs relevant, resolution-oriented, and they do get results. One of her newest programs for kids, and we'll be talking about this a little later, is I Believe I Can Fly. And I want you to jot down a website because we're going to ask you to check this out later. And the website is IBelieveICanFlyForKids.com. It's IBelieveICanFlyForKids.com. Mark that down. We'll get back to it in a little bit. Edie, welcome to our show.
I'm so happy to be here and I'm excited.
All right. That's what I like. I like excitement. So today's topic is how to raise a remarkable kid. So let's start with a very simple question. What exactly is a remarkable kid? How do you define that?
You know, it's interesting because you mentioned you were going to ask that question and I thought, I got to look this up. And it fits intuitively. I did choose the right adjective because being remarkable is making a mark. And I thought, isn't it interesting how animals kind of make a mark? And when I was a kid, at least, we would carve into a tree, you know, Jack loves Sally or whatever. That I was thinking, we all want to leave a mark, not a stain, but a mark. And the sad thing is, David, just yesterday again, another shooting in a school.
I know.
And what it is, and I was just thinking about it, everybody wants to be remarkable. And if we don't channel it and guide it in a healthy, positive, constructive way, it's going to go into a negative, which is why almost daily we have school shootings. And they want to be remarkable because some of them are saying they want to shoot a few more, kill a few more. So everybody wants to be better, the most, or the best. They want to be remarkable. And if you don't get these kids wired at an early age, which my program does, this is what we have, and it's a crisis.
Yeah, I see that also. But for me, what's interesting, I like this concept of leaving a mark in terms of being remarkable. But for me, there's also a positive connotation. So these kids are leaving a mark, but in a negative way.
And that's what I'm saying is that we all, it's almost instinctual. It is instinctual to leave a mark.
Sure.
And so to be remarkable, at least as I'm promoting in my children's program, to wire kids for health, happiness, success, is that, yes, they are exceptional. They are noticed. They have gone above and beyond. They've climbed higher mountains and accomplished more. They are, it's someone that you're going to remark about, that you mark in your head. They make a difference. They have impact.
I like that view, and that's my goal. I have 3 teenagers, 3 teenage kids, and that's my goal with all 3, for them to make their, as you said, their mark in a positive, in a very positive way. All right, so let's keep going. So what are the main components involved in helping develop a remarkable kid? I think everybody would like remarkable kids, and we'd like a nation or a world with remarkable kids. So what are really the main components involved in developing this?
But one is, it's really creating a positive belief system in your child. I do emphasize, in every page of the children's book has, not every page, most pages have a question at the bottom because research indicates that the more you ask your child the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? They're more successful. Questions do shape our destiny, and we need to start asking them prenatal. I mean, I'm big on prenatal, but so questions. The other is engagement. I was in an airport not too long ago, and I remember it looked like a 5-year-old. I could tell he was starving for attention from his mom, who was busy on her phone. And she would tap his knee as if to say, "Oh, I'm here." And I'm like, talk to this kid. And I have to tell you, David, I've rescued all these white cats, and they talk to me. When I say you're pretty, they meow back. And I thought, I don't believe this. I have talking cats. And it's because I engage them. And parents are not doing enough engagement. And my kids are remarkable. So I do feel like, as a single parent, I practice what I preach. But one of the things I do, and I'm doing it with my grandchildren now, is tell stories. I remember when my boys were little, and one of them I didn't think had confidence on the baseball field. I would, instead of saying, "Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to be," that means nothing. A pat on the back is good, but until you throw the ball, you don't believe you can throw it. You've got to get your kids not only engaged with you, but engaged in activities. And I would tell stories that would have a moral or a lesson. I would just create them, and they would get the message. So it's constantly planting these seeds of greatness. And then with my grandkids lately, and they're getting older, I do things where, hey, we're out on a boat, the battery dies. What do? Kids don't have problem solving skills. The only way they know how to problem solve is, to take a gun or a knife to school. We have got to teach problem solving skills. So from an early age, I've always integrated stories where the kids have to be challenged. What would you do? That kind of thing. Because everybody thrives on challenge and a good. And if we don't focus it in a healthy way, they're going to find another way to do it. I think the other thing, David, is learning to say no. I see too many parents, whether you want to call them lawnmower parents or helicopter parents, they're enabling. And it's more important to be a teacher or coach and do caring confrontation than to be their best buddy. I want you to have a good relationship with your child, but stop enabling. I mean, there was somebody on Dr. Phil, the mother was driving him to get his heroin fix. And because
that's crazy.
I mean, this is crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I also think that we have to teach cause and consequence. Kids are not aware of the consequence. And it's because parents are rescuing them from experiencing the consequence. When I was a kid, now this is many years ago, believe it or not, if you got in trouble at school, you'd get in trouble 3 times harder at home. Now parents go in, and there's times where I think you do have to be an advocate, but wait a minute, let them experience the consequence, and they will learn. Kennedy, President Kennedy said when they were celebrating the NASA space program, one of his quotes, David, was, "We're doing this not because it's easy, because it's hard." And we have to do this. We have to constantly challenge our kids to rise above and not, and in my book, Winning, How Winners Think What Champions Do, most of them had to struggle. And if we take away that struggle, we're really denying our children the opportunity to grow. Let me say one other thing. And actually, Richard Branson is in my book, Winning, which is a free bonus with the program, by the way. Richard Branson's, and I can't remember if he was like 5 years old or 7 years old. His mom took him miles from home and said, "Find your way home."
Wow.
That's challenge. Now, you'd get put in jail for that today, but look at Richard Branson. I think he's remarkable, and that's what works.
It's interesting. So I want to unpack that. You just shared a lot of information in a very short period of time. But one of the things that strikes me is kind of this first step, and is ubiquitous and kind of flows throughout everything else you said, is engagement. You need to be engaged. Do you see engagement as kind of the starting point or the core for all these things? Because you talk about telling stories, you talk about questions, you talk about teaching problem solving skills. Is engagement really a starting point, an active, frequent engagement, the starting point for all this?
You know what? I'm glad it is. I didn't think of it that way. It was just one of the many points, but it is the core. It really is the core. It's connecting, and it's more than rapport. It's meeting people almost on a soul level, where you're inviting them in. And when you have that kind of engagement, David, you learn compassion. And I mean, look at Castaway, the Wilson, the ball.
Sure.
Remember? Yep. Yeah. Hanks was the actor in it, right?
Yep.
And look at the relationship when he lost the ball, because he was engaged in the ball. It was all he had. He was humanizing the ball. Now we're dehumanizing people, and we wonder why it's so easy to take a course where we can hurt them, harm them, shoot them, whatever, because we are not, and when we're not engaged, we are not experiencing compassion.
One of the things that I see relative to engagement is so many other tools that people are using to be engaged. They're using their computers. They've always used their television. In my generation growing up, television was it. But then you turn off the television, you were done. But now you turn off the television, you have computers, you have your phone, you have video games, you have a wide range of things. Any initial thoughts on what people can do? So if you want to increase engagement, one-on-one human engagement, I assume you need to decrease some of these other types of engagement. How do you go about doing that?
Absolutely. And I hear parents complaining all the time that my kid's addicted to his phone, his device, but they don't take it away. Be a parent. Set rules. You got to have boundaries. Kids don't have rules and boundaries. They always think they can stretch it, and they end up, listen, David, I was just on the news last night. I'm in North Carolina. South Carolina, a 14-year-old is going to be in jail for life. He killed a first grader. He has no parole. He is 14.
Right.
And you know what? It's the parents' fault.
Yep.
Say no, have boundaries, have rules. And if you don't, people are always going to be challenged by how they can test them. And where guns are more available, violence is more impregnated in the minds of our kids with video games and everything else. But yes, take the phone away. We know, this is a fact, that after a certain amount of time on those phones, and I don't know the exact number of minutes, that IQs are decreasing. So now talk about the dumbing of America. You know what I mean? Yep. We've got to set boundaries on it. And it is, do you know that the Psychiatric Association now has claimed it to be an addiction? It's it's a psychological disorder. And yet, but this is what I find interesting, that as parents, we complain about Johnny being up till 3 a.m, and we know that sleep is causing a lot of the people are stressed out. So then when we're stressed, we do instinctual things, and violence is part of that. They complain about it, but they don't take action, set the boundaries.
All right, and we'll get back to this in a little bit, but I know you have a program, and I gave out the URL earlier, really designed to help these kids become remarkable. And I will get back to this. I just want to remind folks, and I gave out the URL earlier. I'm going to give it out one more time, and we'll get back to it in a little bit. But it's very simple. I believe I can fly for kids.com. And we'll get back to it in a little bit. I want to first delve a little bit deeper into what we can do. So a lot of the things you mentioned here relative to engagement and telling stories or questioning, problem solving, these are things that parents will typically do. Are these things that grandparents, caregivers, family, friends, are these things that everybody should be involved with?
Absolutely. And just thinking, like, who is the program for? And I was thinking, it's for anyone who cares about kids and the future of our civilization. Really, anybody who cares. It's investing in our future, because our kids are our future. And I actually, David, because I'm a grandparent, I designed it when my grandkids were probably right about this age, 5, 6 years old. And so I've always got to teach something. I can't just do something. So I have a background in neurolinguistic programming, and if you know about Pavlov's dog and the association.
Sure.
So I had all these ugly green rugs, probably because they were on sale at Kohl's, and I bought 10 of them because I can't pass up a bargain. And it's like, well, what am I going to do with them? I'm not going to just give them to the kids. And I thought, okay, I'm going to suggest that every time they put their head on the rug, that they're going to have a flash of their greatness. Because right about that time, I wrote the book Winning, How Winners Think. No, I was writing Why Cats Don't Bark. And it's true. We all have a special calling in life. Most of us live and die and never sing our song. So anyway, I am thinking, the other thing I discovered when I wrote Winning, and I interviewed people like Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, Rosa Parks, is that they all had a flash of greatness between the ages of 3 and 9.
Right.
I'm like, this is cool. Okay, my kids are gonna, when they just crawl on this rug, they're going to have this flash of greatness, so that if they don't spontaneously have it like Oprah did, I am going to plant it into their mind so they will be great. Just it's an insurance policy. And then after I developed the whole program, and then I thought, well, wait, these kids are as little as 3 years old.
Mhm.
So that's when I thought I got to have a book so that they can anchor and identify with characters. You can't say, oh, be confident. Okay. And so it just evolved. And then I thought, how selfish. This is magic.
Mhm.
Share it with the world, not just your grandkids. But I actually did design it for grandparents because I figured, today when I grew up, Auntie Fern, my grandma, everybody lived within a few blocks of each
Right.
other. But
Mhm.
now we got grandparents in California, their kids are in
Sure.
Charlotte. And so on the phone every Sunday night, because I have guidelines that will help you facilitate the program to implement it successfully. You can do it even on the phone. And it's a way of not just parents, but grandparents
Mhm.
leaving a legacy. But yeah, daycare, YMCAs, community groups, churches, all can use it.
Anybody who's interacting with your kids.
Exactly.
So why is it so difficult to create a remarkable kid? I think we know some of the things you mentioned. We know engagement's important, some of these things. Why is it so difficult right now in today's day and age?
You know what? Because we have different expectations. We want everything now. It's, push button love, instant success. We have drive-through confessional booths, the Catholic Church. I'm kidding. But it's almost getting to that point. And the ads are, buy now, enjoy now,
Right.
pay later. Okay, so we're just bombarded. And it's programming our minds to expect everything now. And one of the things that develops character is resilience, it's perseverance, it's discipline. It's Michael Jordan getting up at 5 a.m. to play basketball every day. Was he talented? Was he gifted? Yeah. That guy practiced
Sure.
hours and hours and hours
Right,
every
right.
day. And so we're seeing a decline in that kind of conviction and commitment. I don't know, are you familiar with the marshmallow theory? Hey,
Sounds familiar. Tell us, what's the marshmallow theory?
the marshmallow, yeah, I wanted you to ask that. The marshmallow theory, I think the kids were 5 years old. They're put in a room and they were all given a marshmallow and they were told you can eat the marshmallow now, but if you wait until tomorrow, you get 2 marshmallows.
Right.
They followed the kids 25 years later and they found out that the kids that had delayed gratification, that's the trick,
Mhm.
delayed gratification, they were all several times more, they
Right.
were wealthier, more successful, the whole bit. And there again, as parents, we have to, test your child, stretch
Mhm.
that gratification period, because that's a big part of it.
Right.
But the video games are certainly suggesting, everything is push button entertainment,
Mhm.
where you and I went outside and, played alley over or
Right.
something. Well, you're
Mhm.
pretty young, you may not have done it. But, the other thing that we know, that attention spans are shrinking because of the click society
Right.
that we live in. IQs are down. We have to look also what makes it, our kids are exposed to a lot of toxicity. If you look at the lyrics, if you've ever listened to the lyrics, and now not all rap music, but a lot of rap music has lyrics that I can only tolerate for 5 seconds to just have my curiosities satisfied. But here's the thing, David, is that most rap music has a very strong repetitive beat.
Right.
That puts people into a state of hypnosis. And then you listen to some of the lyrics that says, I can't even say it.
Yeah, I
And
know.
shoot them all,
Mhm.
screw your
Sure.
mom, whatever. and we're hypnotizing people, and then we're wondering why we have the problems that we do. So, there too, parents don't even know what their kids are listening to for the most part, and it's hypnotizing them
Right.
for the wrong path. Yeah.
I get it. All right. I
And
want
the
to.
other thing is, David, we don't have the outlets. Get outside, run. There's a guy I'm counseling, and he took, what is it, Muay Thai or something? It's martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like 100 times better. And he wanted to hurt people. And now we directed it in something positive. So it's a matter of moving. And I also think, nutrition, we're at the point where we're putting sugar in our toothpaste just to get people to brush their teeth. And, it's defeating the purpose. So, and the other problem is, the prefrontal lobe, the executive decision-making part of us, doesn't develop until we're in our 20s, later in boys. And so we don't make good decisions, and yet we're exposed to things that choices are made.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a much more difficult world right now to raise kids in. I get that completely. And I've seen the changes over the last, my oldest is 19, and I've seen the changes over the last 19 years.
Yeah.
Which is
Yep.
substantial. So I want to get a little bit more into your program. I know you created the program specifically for kids to help them, as you mentioned, become remarkable. What exactly is your character building program? So a good part of it is this character building. What is it? Tell us about it. Who's it for? What age is that? Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, it's for ages 3 to 9. To tell you the truth, I'm very big in programming kids prenatal. I'll give you an example. My older son is much more musical. 13-year-old daughter got a $100,000 scholarship in music. You know why? I happen to be Czech, and that's very musical. I would pound on the belly when I was pregnant, and because I wanted my kids to be into music.
Right.
With the second one, we don't always give as much attention. I didn't do it after 5 years of piano. He didn't know where middle C was. Do I believe that what I did in prenatal life had a difference? I absolutely do. I only put 3 to 9 because people aren't going to believe me if I say start at 1. I would be playing my audio part. I would play it from the moment that child is born. I really would. So what the program is the book is the anchor. So there's 5 characters. And what I did, David, I took all the social challenges that we're dealing with today. And, lack of compassion, low self-esteem. We have childhood obesity. So I took all of the things that we're dealing with, and I created a cast of characters that helps a child overcome all of them. So we have Ruckus the rabbit, who is loving and compassionate. And it teaches a child that when you share, people give back, what goes around comes around in terms of love.
Right.
And then we have Gustav the goat, who is brave and courageous. So if you have a child that's hesitant or maybe a little bit timid or shy or lacks self-esteem, you want to play that track every single day. And then we have Ollie the owl. So if you have a kid and maybe you shouldn't even be buying the soda pop, Ollie the owl makes wise decisions and doesn't drink soda pop and only likes fruits and vegetables. So I am wiring kids. I'm doing this all for you. I am wiring kids for health, happiness, and success. And then Caleb the caterpillar, 16 little legs, and he climbs Magic Mountain. Persistence, stick with it. So there's a character. Oh, and then there's Penelope, and she's ticked off at the world, but she puts down her quills. And she finds out that she can transform. And of course, Caleb the caterpillar becomes a butterfly. And so it teaches kids that they can change and they can transform. And they discover that the magic is within them. When they go to Magic Mountain, they're ticked. They get to the top and they're expecting Nike shoes or something. And instead there's a mirror, and they find out that the greatness is within them. And then the audio, Dave, the audio is where the magic happens. I got to tell you, when I recorded it, the recording studio guy's wife had a traumatic childhood. She heard me recording this. She was 44 years old. She said it did more than 20 years of therapy. Honest to God. So it's like the Velveteen Rabbit, I think, any age. But what I do is I have an exercise for every day to be more like one of the positive characters, role models. Right. And I use guided mental imagery, visualization, and see what's cool. And if you listen to my TEDx talk, Brain Fitness for Kids, Cloning the DNA of Einstein. I give all of the neuropsychology behind this, so you will know the research, that this isn't just, oh, cool idea.
Right.
This stuff has substance. But yeah, so the audio is really where the transformation and the magic happens. There's a daily one, and then there's 2 on the weekend for general confidence and self-esteem. And then there's also a song, I believe, I Can Fly, that kids like.
Right.
And the reason it's 3 to 9, David, is because when I wrote the book Winning, and I interview all these people who are remarkable, who've gone above and beyond, athletes, artists, celebrities, whatever, and common people that you wouldn't have heard of, but have gone beyond. What they had in common was generally they overcame struggle. So throw some struggle in their path. But they had a flash of greatness at an early age. There's a mountain gal right up here in Asheville, North Carolina. She grew up in the mountains. She was married at 15, had a baby at 16, did it in the right order there. And you know, I mean, I'm talking where people have no teeth, nothing.
Right.
But she had a flash. She remembers listening to the Grand Ole Opry, and she had a flash of dancing on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry. And by golly, she did. And she also was at the Lincoln Center because of that flash of greatness. So I don't care if you're in poverty. I don't care what your stage in life is. The fact is, the flash of greatness can change it all. And the crucial time, and everything is crucial. I mean, even learning we learn how to crawl and then walk and then jump and skip. So that's why this age period, there's a second chance in adolescence. We won't go into that, but that's why these age periods are important. Yep.
Okay. That makes total sense. So,
and then the blanket, David. Do you want me to talk about the blanket?
Talk about the blanket. So one of the things I want to mention, let me just jump in just for a minute over here, is what you really tried to do and did accomplish is create not just a book for parents to read and to read with the kids, but more of a unified program that includes a number of components that all taken together can really help develop character and help change kids. So I want to reiterate that for folks, that you've created something different. There's a lot of good books out there, but what you've created goes far beyond just a book.
Yes.
And in terms of impacting kids in a lot of the ways we're discussing. Let me first give out the URL one more time. So it's IBelieveICanFlyForKids.com, and go there. It has all the details on it, but go back. So you have the book, you created the audio program, which includes, and what's interesting about the audio program, there's a lot of science behind what you're using, the techniques you're using. So I know.
And the reason it's so powerful, Dave, is at that age, kids, I mean, we talk about mindfulness, meditative states, and so forth. We're talking about alpha. Okay, we know the power of the subconscious mind. I am gaining access to what I call the wise mind or the subconscious mind. It's a million times more powerful. Children normally and naturally are in more of an alpha, slowed down brainwave activity state, which is why if kids are traumatized at a young age, it's more traumatic because it has more of a deep impression. So I'm creating images, impact, and impressions at an age when kids are like sponges and they're all healthy, positive, and powerful. You got it.
All right. So you started saying, in addition to the audio, you have the book, the audio.
And the blanket is, if you're familiar with Tony Robbins, and he made NLP popular, and I actually studied with John Grinder, who's got more of the science behind it. But anyway, it's all about association triggers. So as I said earlier, when they wrap up in the blanket, I suggest that they have a flash of their greatness. So it actually plants seeds of greatness, which will help a child identify, discover, and develop his or her inner genius. And then I have the guidelines, which helps anybody. They're simply written. And then eventually I want to do puppets for role playing, because research indicates that the more you're in drama or something where you're in role playing, you're more successful. Reagan is a perfect example. Part of why he got in for president, he was an actor. He knew how to role play. That's what makes people successful. So that's my next step. And then I'm going to do an interactive video game. I pitched it to Shark Tank, but I got to do the sales. So you guys got to help. Then I can go to Shark Tank and do page 2. Okay.
All right. So tell us a little bit. So what have been the results? People have been using this. You mentioned a little bit about some of the things you're seeing. What are you seeing when kids, and I assume it's not only kids, depending on the age, parents are working with them, an extended family. What are some of the results that you've been seeing?
I think the most powerful result was from Steve and Ava Dunker. And their little 4-year-old son, there was this dramatic change. There was an explosion in confidence, took off his training wheels. And the dad said, "What did your mom do to you?" And he said, "It wasn't mom, it was Miss Edie. On her CD, she said." And the mom said, "Edie, we played one 5-minute track one time, and their child totally transformed." And that's the kind of results that, you hate to sound too magical or immediate, but those are the results that I'm getting, that people will play one track. It isn't always, I believe in repetition, but there have been cases where one time and a child is transformed, because we're wiring them. It's neuro conditioning for health, happiness, and success. And I always say, why would you leave it to chance? For the price of a sweatshirt,
Right.
I can help you guarantee your child's health, happiness, and success. I think that's a big promise.
Yeah. And one of the things I want to point out is this is also a great gift. It's great for your kids. It's great, if you're a grandparent, if you're an aunt and uncle. These are, we're at a time where we have a chance to impact when we have younger kids, it's 3 to 9. We have an opportunity to really impact these kids. So that's a great opportunity. So exactly. I want to step into a couple of things, talk about a couple of other things with you. We mentioned this earlier, you did this TEDx talk, Brain Fitness for Kids. And you mentioned a little bit, cloning the DNA of Einstein provides the neuroscience and psychology behind the program. Can you just say a little bit more? You touched on it a little bit. Can you say a little bit more about the science of what went into the creation of it?
Yeah, and in the TEDx talk, and that was coincidental. I did the TEDx talk and I thought, oh my gosh, that's everything I knew that I put into the program. This is great, to even get the word out. But what I do is I talked a little bit about music, because we know that plants move toward music if it's particularly Baroque or nonlinear and so forth. If it's rapid, plants grow the other way. So I integrate music, binaural beats, synchronizing the right and left hemispheres. I talk about epigenetics. I don't know if I even use that term, but many have read books by Bruce Lipton, Biology of Belief, things like that. And how I talk about how we can, and this program does, begin to alter the DNA in a positive way. Because if we do have a history of, say alcoholism or abuse in a family, at some point we have to have intervention. And what I like about the program too is I'm into wellness. This is about prevention. We're always doing things after the crime, after the fact. So it does have the epigenetics. Oh, and I also talk about the Riklan effect. And if you're not familiar with him, well, listen to the TEDx talk and you'll get familiar with him. But it's really the whole thing of role modeling, that if you start believing you're going to play like Mozart, you become Mozart. So it's creating, again, the role playing, the imitation of positive role models. And what's scary is so many kids identify with role models and celebrities that I don't think they deserve to be in the news. And so I bring that in as well. And so it's the music, it's the role modeling, the Riklan effect, understanding the power of association, having triggers. A young child doesn't think abstractly. But I remember actually when Tori was young, and he knows I'm not into medications, it's a last resort. And I said, ride your bike around the block 3 times and the headache will go away. And it would. Okay, so it's constantly implementing that power of suggestion of what you can do with your child to do something physical, whether it's just breathing. Every time you sip on the water, it can be taking in liquid confidence, or if somebody that has anxiety, taking in liquid calm. So I bring all of that in.
Okay, I like it.
You like it?
I know one of the things that been called as kind of America's parenting coach. How are you qualified? You've obviously a wide background to be America's parenting coach.
You know what? And that is that you know what, I got to live up to that. And I really feel I am. And one is not because of the college degrees, the degrees in counseling and so forth, the doctoral credits and psychology of consciousness, but what it is, it's who I studied with, David.
Mhm.
I honestly, if God has ever been on my side, I've tripped on some of the greatest people before they were even known. John Grinder,
Right.
with Grinder and Bandler.
Mhm. Sure.
2 days for $35. Nobody knew who he was. I was getting certified in hypnosis at the University of Minnesota. These doctors didn't know what they were doing. I laughed. And
Mhm.
I heard this John Grinder was in. But my primary mentor is Jean Houston. Do you know who Jean Houston is?
Yeah.
The Impossible Human. She asked me to be an associate of hers. I spent 10 days with her, transformed my life. But I just wanted to say that Mark Victor Hansen, the co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul
Sure.
series,
Mhm.
said she's the most brilliant person walking the earth. She's my mentor. And J.L. Moreno, the father of psychodrama, stumbled on him
Mhm.
when I was in New York City. And my experiences, grew up in rural Wisconsin, little fishing village, went to New York City, and I worked with the most at-risk kids there. So it's very broad and diversified,
Mhm.
and I've kind of done it all.
All right. And you're bringing a lot of this into this program.
Right.
One of the things I know you've done is you've also written a lot of other books. So I think Stop Bullying Now, and you mentioned Winning there was another one, Why Cats Don't Bark, which I know is I think also a bestseller overseas. How do these books tie into what you're doing in the program and everything?
And I'm an off the chart right brainer, as you probably know. And so everything is kind of serendipitous. So I write Why Cats Don't Bark, which is on your soul's code and your calling in life and intuition, listening to that inner voice and letting it guide you. Then when I wrote Winning, and I'm interviewing these people that have gone above and beyond, the Oprah Winfrey's and so forth, they all seem to have this flash of greatness. The book was a testimony to all the research that was in Why Cats Don't Bark.
Right.
And then it was the research and the results of those two books that said, wait a minute, I'm going to implement this and make a difference in the world and have impact. Reading about it is one thing, it's just research. I'm going to do something about it. And that's how it came about. And then bullying, bullying, it's a great handbook. I've been told it's the best book out there on bullying, and I think it is. And it's really for teachers, the bullied, those who bully. It's for parents. It's everything is in there. But it's after the fact again. And that's why I Believe I Can Fly, because it would prevent the bullying. Because if people are compassionate,
Right.
they're not going to hurt other people. So all of those books at least tie together.
Okay. So relative to your program, we talked a little bit about who should get it, parents. How can they get it? And is there some sort of guarantee? So you want to give out the website one more time and tell us, is there a little guarantee? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, it's I Believe I Can Fly for Kids.com. You can order it there. And if you buy two, you will get a copy, hardcover or download, whichever you prefer, of Winning, How Winners Think What Champions Do, which contributed to the thought behind it. And by the way, if you buy 3 programs, you want to give one to a child in need, you buy 3, I give one free, and you can do what you want. But it would be nice if it's for somebody that needs it and maybe can't afford it. And I do have a money back guarantee. I will tell you, I've never, ever had that exercise, but it's there for you to make you feel safe and secure in your investment. But it's really investing in your child's future. My mission with the program is to change the way the world thinks, one child at a time. And honest to God, Dave, I believe it'll do it.
All right. So I Believe I Can Fly for Kids.com. Make sure to check it out. We've been talking with Edie today. Before we finish up, any final words for our audience today?
You know what? I was thinking of that, and I always like a big and bold beginning and a moving finish. I ended my book, Winning, with a quote from Lakota Sioux, and it was, "Listen, my children, for when you were born, you cried, and they rejoiced. May you live your life so that when you die, that they cry and you rejoice. This program is all about making a difference.
I like it. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us today. It's been very powerful, a lot of really useful information. And I'd like to thank everybody for listening. And I wish everybody great success in all areas of your life. We'll talk to everybody soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Blessings.